Hello, students! Welcome back to Shreya Education Hub. Today, we're starting Chapter 1, Exploring the Investigative World of Science. Have you ever wondered why some things happen around us? Science begins with curiosity, observation, and asking questions. Let's explore the exciting world of scientific investigation together!
Welcome back, young scientists. Okay, so we're diving right back into the incredible world of science, picking up exactly where your 7th grade journey left off. We're not just going to sit around memorizing static facts here. No way. We're stepping into the shoes of real-world problem solvers to figure out how this whole universe actually works. Let's kick things off with a question that might literally blow your mind. Think about it. Are there more grains of sand on all the beaches and deserts combined on Earth? Or are there more stars in our entire galaxy? It's kind of crazy, right? But it's exactly these massive, awe-inspiring questions that spark real scientific discovery. Because honestly, science always starts with just wondering about the world around us. So here's our itinerary for this explainer. First up, the sheer power of questions. Then we'll talk about roots and kites, basically developing that scientific attitude. After that, we'll zoom in on microbes and our health, zoom out to physics and the laws of nature, and finally wrap up with our Earth and our responsibility to it. Let's get to it. So, stop number 1, curiosity and the power of questions. Just take a look at these everyday things. Like, why is a puri always thin on the edges? Or, what actually makes a ball of dough puff up when you fry it? Why does a ball absolutely have to come back down when you throw it? And, hey, is the Earth really getting hotter? You know, science is all about having the guts to ask these exact types of questions. It's about probing those little, everyday mysteries that we usually just completely take for granted. Now, to actually turn that curiosity into action, we use the scientific method. Think of it as your practical roadmap. First, we learn to ask really specific questions. Next, we design simple experiments to test them. Then, we observe what happens incredibly carefully. And finally, we explain our findings so others understand them. Honestly, this method is the ultimate toolkit. It literally transforms you from a curious student into a totally capable real-world investigator. Moving on to stop number 2, roots and kites, and building a scientific attitude. So, to be a truly great scientist, you kind of need a very specific mindset. On one hand, you've got roots. They're deeply embedded in the earth, right? That represents grounded, rigorous observation, the hard facts, the careful measurements. But on the other hand, you have a kite, soaring completely free. That's your imagination, just flying up there, discovering totally new horizons. The absolute best science happens when we balance those grounded facts with the freedom of creative thought. It's an amazing balancing act. Next up, our third stop, microbes to our health. You know, science gives us this amazing lens to understand completely different scales of reality. One day, we're studying these microscopic, invisible battles happening right inside our cells when a vaccine does its job, and the next, we're looking at overwhelmingly massive global events, like raging thunderstorms and massive cyclones. Next, let's zoom way in on the tiny stuff for a second, microbes. They have this really fascinating dual nature. Some of them are our absolute best invisible helpers. Like, we literally need them to digest our food, and they even help us manufacture life-saving medicines. But on the flip side, some are serious hazards that cause nasty infections. Luckily, science steps in and teaches us how to fight back. Things like nutritious food, regular exercise, medicines, and vaccines, those are our vital defenses. They help us defeat those invisible invaders and keep us healthy. All right, moving on to part 4, physics and the laws of nature. Think about this. When you chuck a ball up into the air, why doesn't it just keep going forever? Or why does a speeding car actually come to a halt when you hit the brakes? Well, understanding the fundamental forces of physics gives us the answers. It explains exactly how things speed up, slow down, or completely change direction. And you know what's really amazing? It's how we've learned to manipulate these physical laws to make our modern lives, well, incredibly comfortable. By understanding stuff like the heating and magnetic effects of electrical currents, we've engineered these little everyday miracles. I mean, think about the space heater keeping you warm in winter, or the iron you use to press your clothes. Science literally takes natural laws and turns them into practical, everyday tools. But to really, truly get how things like boiling water or air pressure work, we have to go deeper. We have to zoom in way past what our naked eyes can see just to understand what matter itself is actually built from. Because everything around us, it's all made up of microscopic particles. In a solid object, those particles are locked super tightly together. They vibrate, sure, but they can't really move around. But take a gas balloon. Inside there, those particles are just roaming totally free. They're bouncing off the walls, and that's exactly what creates the pressure keeping the balloon inflated. Once you start classifying these particles into elements, compounds, and mixtures, you unlock the everyday chemistry happening literally all around you. Like, say you stir a spoonful of sugar into a cup of hot tea. It seems to just vanish, right? But when you understand how particles interact and dissolve into solutions, you realize the sugar hasn't actually disappeared at all. It's just perfectly mixed in there on a microscopic level. Pretty cool. Oh, and physics also reveals the absolutely fascinating world of light. The way light rays bounce off curved surfaces or bend when they pass through glass, that explains so much of our visual world. It's exactly why you see that weird, distorted version of yourself in a shiny metal spoon, and it's how corrective lenses can bend light to help us see perfectly clearly. And finally, our last stop, our Earth, our responsibility. Let's zoom all the way back out and just think for a second about how incredibly lucky we are. Earth has these highly specific conditions that make life possible. I mean, we are sitting at the absolute perfect distance from the sun for liquid water to exist. We've got this wonderful oxygen-rich atmosphere and a protective layer shielding us from harmful UV rays. Altogether, these conditions support this massive, totally interdependent web of life. Every single living creature, from the tiniest insect to the biggest whale, relies entirely on the climate, the water, and each other just to survive. But here's the reality check. That delicate balance is under threat right now. Human interference is causing small but really dangerous shifts in Earth's temperature. It's disrupting weather patterns and fueling massive global hazards like climate change. So throughout this explainer, we've been building up this toolkit of curiosity, observation, and scientific understanding. Now, the ultimate question is, how will you use this scientific attitude to tackle these massive planetary challenges? How are we going to protect our only home? I'm going to leave you to think about that one. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep observing, and definitely keep flying that kite of imagination.
Great job, students! Today, we learned how science starts with observation, curiosity, and experimentation. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and think like a young scientist every day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Shreya Education Hub for more exciting science lessons. See you in the next chapter!